Here, read this.
Woof.
Hello, Ash here from the Ear Read This podcast. This short clip you're about to see is taken from a longer conversation I had with my guest, Miles Leeson. Most of this conversation can be found in my recent podcast episode on A Year of Birds by Iris Murdoch. This is a section that couldn't really fit in with that podcast, where we started talking about Brigid Brophy, someone I've also talked about on previous episodes, and an author that Miles has written about and taught. Brophy, for those of you who don't know, was a friend and confidant of Iris Murdoch. They were writing at the same time and had quite a lot of biographical and some might say stylistic crossover. So here it is. It's just a short little clip. We were mostly talking about Brophy biography or the lack thereof.
Oh, there was one thing I wanted to ask you, actually. I'm not sure we can either include this or not, but I just since we both commented on Kate's tweet the other day about a Brophy biography.
Yes,
I've just done.
I love talking about Brophy.
Yeah,
superb. And I know Kate says that it's difficult to imagine anybody being fans of both Brophy and of Murdoch, but I think it's perfectly reasonable. They're both superb artists in their own right. They're doing very different things.
Yeah,
but
there are there are similarities. I mean, I was worried to say it when I spoke to Kate because I know how she feels about it. But there are thematic parallels for sure. But that's no reason for them not to. You could really not like the work of someone who's quite similar to you for exactly that reason. So
they were both heavily invested in the classics as well. They're both heavily invested in music and the opera. Quite often, Brigid and Michael would take John and Iris to the opera. So they'd go regularly as a foursome. This is quite kind of common theme, I think, with Murdoch going on double dates, as it were, with her husband, with other people. And deeply invested in classical languages. I mean, they both spoke ancient Greek and spoke it to each other. Kate's got a wonderful story. I said that when I visited with her in Lincoln several years ago now, I said, when was the time that you realized that your mother and Iris were involved in some way? And she said, well, I remember coming down the stairs one day and my mother was talking to somebody on the phone, and when she saw me, my mother and this person who was on the phone began to speak in ancient Greek, and that's when I realized that there was something quite different about the relationship that my mother had with Iris. So I think they loved each other very much, and although they kind of quarreled, I think there was a deep respect there for each other's intellect. Murdoch obviously loved Brigid's work. She writes very warmly about the snowball and about. I'm not sure how she felt as she went into those kind of like the in transit kind of form of the novel, the highly postmodern stylized book, which I think is superb. But I think obviously Hackenfeller's Ape. Murdoch loved that book, and she had a great respect for. And I think Brigid had a respect for the mind, if not for the artwork that the mind was producing, shall we say?
Yeah. Which was poignantly, and it's painful to read about. It's referenced in your essay in the Brophy book, but also with Kate mentioning it, it's rough. It's such an intellectual friendship, and for that to just be.
Yes, and they did in a sense the friendship soured after that, and they did then, as you know, break. And Brophy had formed other relationships, particularly with Maureen Duffy and Jean McKay, who were perhaps better suited more temperamentally. But I think when Iris always had a very strong affection for Brigid anyway, and then when in the 1980s when their friendship reformed and they became closer again and began writing to each other, and after Brigid passed away, Iris wrote a beautiful letter to Michael Levy, which is now in the archives at Kingston, saying how much I adored Brigid and what a wonderful mind, what a wonderful person she was. So I think that's a lovely testament to their relationship.
Yeah. So why hasn't someone written a Brophy biography? Is it as simple as demand, do you think? Because Kate was saying...
I mean, it's not that long ago since Edmund Gordon brought out his biography of Angela Carter. Was that 4 or 5 years ago, for example? I mean, there are so many deserving authors out there. I mean, there's Paula Byrne's Adventures of Miss Barbara Pym, only came out 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think there is a desire for more works on these fascinating authors, and I think Brigid's time will come, because I think a biography will kind of push kind of adaptations of the novels forward, and so much else. I think it will take a biography or or a TV adaptation or film adaptation of one of the novels, and then all of a sudden the wheels will come in motion, and the books will become much more prominent. Faber Fines obviously have done some sterling work bringing the books and republishing the books.
Yeah.
But they do need to be pushed more. And I've taught Brigid's work in the past. It's always gone down well. But I think it does need some, for a general readership, I think it does need more press attention, and a biography would be a fascinating thing. There are so many wonderful things in the Brophy archive that Kate has, including a new edition of well, I think it's a great non-fictional work, Black Ship to Hell, where she talks about interesting psychoanalysis and so much else besides.
That's the Freud book.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So there's lots. There's so much more to do with Brophy. That wonderful collection that came out with EUP in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
So a few years ago now, is probably the best place for people to go looking at the moment for material on Brophy. But I have no doubt that there will be much more to come.
Let's hope so.